Carlos Baleba has got 3 years left on his contract. Brighton have got the option to extend that for a further year. They don't want to sell, they've got no intention of selling, and because of his contract situation, they are under no pressure to sell as well. And I think also the price would be pretty prohibitive to Manchester United, and that would make it an almost impossible deal to do as it stands, because I'm sure we'll talk about it later about the number of players that Manchester United want to get money for because they want to offload. But I think Brighton will look at Carlos Baleba and they'll compare him to Moises Caicedo. And you know, the noises coming out of Brighton are saying that he's actually further in his development at his stage of his career than Moises Caicedo was at that stage of his career. And what did Moises Caicedo go for? £115 million to Chelsea. So why can't Brighton say, well, if Moises Caicedo went for that, that's going to be our starting point with Carlos Baleba. As far as Manchester United are concerned, their focus clearly is going to be on the Premier League opener. They have signed 3 new forward players. They've revamped that front line with Matheus Cunha, with Brian Mbeumo and with Benjamin Sesko. But Ruben Amorim, in his news conference earlier on today, was asked the question, what chance a midfielder? And this is what...
Hi Ruben, just on the midfield situation, do you want a new midfielder to come in, and would you be confident of getting one in? Because it does look like you're quite light in that area. I'm
really happy with our players. They are working really well. We have different players for that position, so we are prepared to win any game with our players.
Well, in terms of trying to transform their fortunes, Manchester United are definitely backing Ruben Amorim in the transfer market. That's fair to say with that front line. But how significant a change would it be to get in a player like Carlos Baleba, despite the fact, as Thomas just said, this would be a difficult deal to do?
I think it's almost impossible this summer. We've been speaking to the Brighton Chief Executive, Paul Barber, today as well, and he made it very clear that Baleba is not going anywhere. He said, we're looking forward to seeing him play for us this season. So I still think United need to bring some more players in before the window closes. Yes, they've done a lot of business across their front line, but they do need, I think, reinforcements in midfield and perhaps in defence, and there's still question marks over the goalkeeping situation as well. But I don't think it's going to be Baleba. Baleba maybe would have to be one for next summer, but if he has another really good season, his value is just going to keep going up and up and up, even though his contract situation is going to obviously develop, because he'd only have 2 years left on his contract next summer, although I don't know if Brighton have got the option to extend that by another 12 months.
Well, one thing I would say about Manchester United is, before the window even opened, and how last season went when they finished 15th in the Premier League and they lost that Europa League final to Tottenham Hotspur and Bilbao as well. I think most pundits and most experts were saying this is not a one-window fix. This is 2, 3, 4 windows it's going to take before Manchester United can really begin to challenge again. But because the window started so well for them, Matheus Cunha came in really, really early in that window. Brian Mbeumo, there was lots of talk, and even though it was only sorted out a few weeks ago, there was a knowledge that that deal was going to happen. So people were getting pretty excited. Look, Cunha's done and Mbeumo's done. Oh, can they get a striker? Oh, they've got Sesko. And now they're getting a little bit greedy, for want of a better word. Oh, why don't we just sign the midfielder now? And they're thinking about, oh, we could challenge for top 4 here. Whereas I think if you go back and just take a step back, I think most experts would agree that it's going to take a little bit longer than just this one window. And sometimes, because of the players that Manchester United need to unload, and also the money that they need to generate to be able to replenish this window, it's nigh on impossible to do every single position in one transfer window. Yes, they would love to bring in a midfielder. That's why there is this interest. And one thing I would say about the Baleba interest is, because it is out there and because Manchester United might have explored the conditions of a deal, we know how transfers work. Manchester United and other clubs do not go and express an interest in a player blindly. There must be some sort of encouragement somewhere along the line that maybe the player might think, you know what, I might be open to that move. But that is completely separate here to what Brighton's position would be, because even if Carlos Baleba just say he did want to go to Manchester United, Brighton can just say, well, you're not going anywhere. you've got 3 years left on your contract, we've got a year's option, and if we are to let you go, then it's going to be over £100 million. And people will say, well, you can compare that to the Alexander Isak situation. And so why are people saying, well, it's still potentially going to happen to Liverpool? Because we haven't really heard of any disunity or disharmony with regard to Carlos Baleba at Brighton.
No, those are very distinct in that respect. Yeah,
that's the big difference.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when you look at the amount of money spent, you know, Liverpool have spent almost £300 million. That's without Isak, if it does happen. Chelsea have spent around £250 million. Manchester United up until this point, £214 million. But, you know, they want to be competing, especially given the fact that Liverpool and United are currently on 20 top-flight titles each, and they sense that Liverpool might get back on the perch if this spending continues that they can't keep up with. But on the point of sort of, it's not a one-window fix, Darmish, I mean, Carver, I wonder about this. Harry Maguire said in a recent interview that United were mentally weak in the past. And how much do you think that these new signings and things like, for example, the refreshed training ground might add to a sense of rebirth, renewal at Manchester United to try and change things culturally as well? That sort of wider context piece, I guess.
I think, look, what Manchester United have to do is back Ruben Amorim, which is exactly what they're doing, and give him as much time as possible, because there's been too much chopping and changing of managers, too many managers buying different players which haven't worked out. Now, sitting here, it's been a good summer for Manchester United, but we don't know how these signings are going to work out. Not every signing works out the way you think it's going to work out. For instance, when United signed Jadon Sancho, you know, a lot of people were very excited about the impact he was going to have, or Anthony, or Højlund. You know, in the transfer market, you're going to have hits and misses. Now, on paper, it looks like the three forwards they've signed are all going to be hits. And if you're a United fan, you'll be thinking, Ruben Amorim's got it right this time, Jason Wilcox got it right, Jim Ratcliffe's got it right. We need to get behind the team. But remember, United are not going to be challenging for the title this season. The aim is just to get back into Europe. It's going to take a few steps, and it's going to take quite a few transfer windows as well. I think if you're a United fan, you just want a big improvement on last season, and you want to see United playing, attacking and defending in the way that United fans are used to seeing their teams play and perform.
Yeah, and at least in terms of the incomings, you know, it looks like it is shaping up that way, and we will discuss.
Like Garnacho, I think, is well below what United are looking for. OK,
potential incomings at Chelsea. What about outgoings at Manchester United, Darmish?
Yeah, Carlo mentioned Alejandro Garnacho. The other ones, the high-profile ones, Rasmus Højlund. Ruben Amorim says that Højlund is part of the squad looking for this weekend against Arsenal. He is open to a move to AC Milan, is Rasmus Højlund, but he's not fully convinced yet. Talks have taken place between Milan and Højlund's representatives, and they are waiting now for the green light from Højlund to really push with Manchester United to try and get that deal over the line. As for Jadon Sancho, we know that Roma have made a £20 million bid to Manchester United to sign him. Roma are now speaking to Jadon Sancho's representatives to tell them about the project and also the terms of a contract. Again, if they are given encouragement that Sancho would be open to the move, then Roma would then push with Manchester United to try and generate a deal between the two clubs before, hopefully for them, if they want him, signing Jadon Sancho.
All right, let's finish the show with a done deal at Leeds United. They've announced the signing of free agent forwards Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Brighton manager Fabian Herzler is very confident Carlos Baleba will not leave the club this summer. Brighton value Baleba at around £100 million, which would make a potential deal tricky to finance, but Ruben Amorim wants to strengthen his midfield before the end of the transfer window. Toby Collier is set to join Championship club West Ham on a season-long loan, and there are concerns about the suitability of Manuel Ugarte, Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro for the deeper midfield roles. Brighton are confident about keeping Baleba this summer, though, as explained by Herzler. I am very, very confident, Herzler told reporters about Baleba staying at Brighton. I didn't see any change. He seems to be in a very good place, enjoying it with his teammates. Baleba has missed Brighton's last 4 preseason friendlies with a knee injury, but Herzler confirmed he could start against Fulham this weekend. He is an option to start tomorrow, he said. Amorim has been backed with the signings of Matheus Cunha, Brian Mbeumo, Benjamin Sesko and Diego Leon this summer, with United spending close to £200 million in the transfer window.